Jahari, welcome to Verse.
Eric, wow, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. You have such an incredible upward arc to your career, especially these days. Today you are literally being called a phenomenon. But let's start, before we get to that part of you, let's start a little bit about your origin story and your musical roots.
Wow, well, I was born and raised in Chicago. My mother and my grandmother played in church. My mother was Grammy-nominated artist and musician, and she always had records around the house. My father and my mother played a lot of music for me growing up, and they never really forced me to play. I think that was a big thing for me, was being able to do it when I really chose to do it. And by the time I started, it was like I wanted to really do it. I loved it so much. So,
right. You started on the drums, but quickly or soon found that you gravitated toward the piano.
Yeah, I started on the drums at the age of 7, and I remember my first introduction to piano. Although I was around it a lot, I never really started playing until I was about 14. And I remember I came across a video on YouTube. This guy is like a black guy that looked like me. I'm like, wow, this guy, I didn't know somebody like that could play piano like that. And he was playing like classical renditions of popular pop songs. And so I was really blown away. And I remember that was my first start to piano, was just, I used to watch his fingers. I didn't know the notes. I just knew the buttons and the shapes. So I would mimic his shapes and his fingers, note for note, every movement, like, until I really got that precise cover down. And it was insane because he was doing all this crazy like counterpoint and crazy arpeggios and things, and I didn't know what it was. I just knew the buttons, and so I just copied his buttons, and eventually I was just playing buttons, and it was sounding obviously like the piano. But that's how I started, honestly, just from mimicking shapes and buttons.
That's amazing. So you eventually received a formal music education at the Manhattan School of Music, but in addition to that, you had your family situation, your family education, but then you started playing on stages. You know, each of those kind of gives you a little bit of a different kind of lesson in being an artist and expressing yourself. Can you explain a little bit about what you got from each of those 3 different sources?
Well, I think it just, growing up in this age of social media and like the internet was so different at the time, I think, when I started. And I think having access to that level of information, I think, my parents, they would have, usually gone to the library or had to go seek it out. Whereas when I was online, things would just pop up on my feed. So I think it's hard to describe how I developed at each point, because it was so, like, things would pop up on the algorithm or it was just so random, and the way I developed came from just the age that I was living in. And my parents, they had a lot of records, and being formally taught at Manhattan School of Music was incredible as well, because I didn't know anybody else my age that really played until then, and they were really serious, like amazing musicians from all over the world.
Right.
So it was heavy, like being able to learn from the internet and then come together and meet other people like around my age that were also extraordinary prodigies. And so it was like I was immersed in the environment of musicians and creativity. New York has that feeling to it too. So I just, every day I was practicing. I was so motivated. Even now it's just inspiring. So.
Yeah. So if you had to choose something that was your big break, I know it's always sort of like a continuum of things, but was there one thing that you felt like, I got this, I can do this?
The first time I really realized I could really do music was actually in high school. I remember my band director really encouraged me because he saw something in me that I didn't know was not normal, or I guess he noticed something about me where I would watch him play and copy him the next day, like be like, oh, I think I got what you did. I mimicked the buttons. I copied the shapes. And he was like, wait, what? Like, I've been playing piano for like 15 years. Like, how did you learn that? I said, well, I just looked at your fingers and you did this thing with your hand and your wrist. And he's like, okay, well, try this. And every day after school, like, he would give me more and more things. And I would come back the next day and have it down. And he was like, there's something different about the way that you're learning, the way your brain is like figuring this out. And I was like, I don't know. I just have fun. It's like a puzzle. And so I was like, it just like feels like a puzzle when I'm learning the piano. And I remember he really told me to keep going. And you know, my parents, they encouraged it as well. But hearing that from him was a lot for me, because he had been super accomplished. His name is Will Henry. And so I really took it seriously in high school.
2 years ago, 2023, you won the Herbie Hancock International Jazz Institute Piano Competition. That year seemed to be kind of a big year for you. Did that change anything for you, trajectory-wise, or just in terms of your confidence? And
yeah, I think that moment was pretty surreal. It was my first time meeting Herbie and a lot of people. I mean, Hiromi and so many of the judges, but even the contestants were all my peers that I looked up to. I mean, I still, you know, they're so incredible. You know, you have Paul Cornish, Esteban Castro, Dabin. I mean, I've known them. And so it felt almost like when we came together for the competition, it was like, oh, wow, I know all these people already. Like, these are all my friends. Like, this is so crazy. We're all here together. And honestly, I wasn't thinking about winning or losing. I was just kind of honestly just enjoying the experience of hearing everyone and being there and just kind of being immersed in that environment. And I just appreciate the opportunity. I thank God for allowing me to be able to participate or to be able to meet Herbie. Was, you know, a dream come true. So I personally, afterwards, I had such a mix of emotions, because one of my close friends like passed away like the day of the finals.
oh, wow.
And I found out like the day before, I was getting these messages of congratulations about the semifinals. They were like, congratulations. And I got one text that was like, hey, Dre Davis passed away. And it was like message after message after message. And there was this one message that stuck out. And I was like, wait, that's not, did I read that incorrectly? Like, everybody else said congratulations.
Right.
This looks different. And I just remember like that was all that was on my mind, honestly.
Wow. So it was a confluence of a wide range of emotions all coming together in the same day. Also in 2023, you released your debut album, Still Listening. What did you want your statement to be as a musician on that album?
Well, the thing about that album is that it covers so many eras of my life. Like the last track, for example, I wrote that song and recorded that track when I was 16 years old. And so the front of the cover is a younger version of myself kind of staring out. And the back is like a more current version of me. And each track symbolizes different points in my life, different eras, different people, different times. And the whole message is, you know, you never want to let go of your inner happiness. And it's just kind of a gratitude to the people in my life at each point. And I wanted to show that I was grateful, and that I think sometimes we get wrapped up in life, and when things get difficult, like we forget to cherish our loved ones and our people. And I think that was my message for that album, is just to continue to embrace those people in your life and keep listening to that happiness within you and those people within you that keep you strong. So I think that's why I wrote the music for this project, and I put it all together.
So your success so far is taking you to greater places, bigger stages. You've played Radio City Music Hall, Carnegie Hall. You've played some amazing, venues. Does a space or a certain audience feed you in a way? Like, talk a little bit about just what it draws out of you when you play for like a new audience or in a different venue that you haven't played before.
Wow, man. Well, I think it kind of makes me think about even the competition, because I think when I first started performing for people, I was so nervous, man. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even breathe right now. Like, I'm shaking. And I think I was lucky to be able to, as soon as I got to college, pretty much I was touring with some amazing artists like Keon Harold, Derek Hodge, who toured with Robert Glasper. And so I was able to have that experience of overcoming that fear with each performance. And the more that I played, the more I realized from the guidance that I received from those masterful musicians like Keon and Derek and Marquise Hill and all of these people that were in my life, I realized that music, it shouldn't be about, being the best or being, overly technical or perfect. It's kind of like you're trying to be yourself, and you're kind of trying to embrace that moment for what it is. And I think it made me overcome that fear of the audience being such a scary thing, because music is an experience for us all. And whenever I perform, I want you to be a part of the experience. You shouldn't be this intimidating thing. It's like a conversation that we're having now. Right. We're all human. We're all in this world together. So it's more of an experience for us all to be in this moment and to embrace the love and the spirit of the music. So
yeah. Well, speaking of being in the moment, you have been hailed as a masterful improvisational player. Are you able to describe what goes through your mind and your body when you are in the middle of a piece and you want to create what you hear or where you want the music to go? Are you able to describe that experience?
Man, I think there's a quote. I know. I mean, there's been lots of different quotes, but I think even someone like Herbie Hancock, I think is a great example of someone that's always staying in the moment and keeping themselves curious. And I think when I'm performing, or even when I'm practicing or when I'm playing, I try to learn as much as I can, but my mind is always curious whenever I'm in life, as I'm exploring life, as I'm walking down the street. If I hear something I like, I take note. Like, I'm curious about it. I never close myself off to things. And I think that habit that I have of just like always paying attention to things in my immediate life, like all around me and in my environment, it keeps my mind, because, in all honesty, like, all of my ideas aren't really my own. They are a combination of everything I've experienced in my life. And so I'm always just continuing to try to be present in that moment, because every moment is different. I never know what could happen tomorrow, but as I'm experiencing today, I'm going to take it with me. And that's what I mean when I'm playing in the moment. It's really just a combination of everything I've experienced. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So you're set to release your second album called What a Time, and you've started releasing some tracks from that. What has changed for you creatively from your last album to this one?
I'm super excited. I think what's special about this album is that, again, it's a combination of different tracks from different eras, but I feel blessed to have been able to collaborate with so many more people.
Mm-hmm.
It's very collaborative, and I was able to get some of my favorite artists. Keon Harold is on the album. I have India Carney, Derek Hodge, a lot of the people that really had such an impact in my life. And so I think the message of What a Time as a whole is kind of an extension of my first project, and it's kind of embracing the moment now. And, as things change all over the world, as things happen, I think the message for me is to continue to try to push good into the world, try to continue to be a light for people, and never forget the people around you, the people in your life. The collaborative elements really speak to that for me, and gratitude for those people that are just doing good and they are trying to be good to others. And I think that's what I want to keep pushing as much as I can.
Yeah.
So.
Amen to that, by the way. So you are an artist, a pianist, a songwriter, a band leader, but you're also becoming an educator yourself. You've taught some master classes. Would you be able to share a few words of wisdom that you share in some of these educational settings for those musicians out there that are developing and pushing themselves to be their best?
Man, I think one of the biggest things I've always learned is that we can be so caught up on perfection and not feeling enough if we're not perfect. But in reality, I think what really is important, life is not really about perfection. I think life it's really about progression and just continuing to stay as strong as you can, to push yourself to be as good as you can be on that day and try to be even better tomorrow. And we can never achieve perfection, but we can keep progressing as much as we can. And I think that's really my biggest lesson in my life is, even if I'm not perfect, even if I make mistakes, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
So
great. So you are a recipient of the ASCAP Foundation Herb Alpert Young Jazz Composer Award. And as a result, you've been chosen to perform at the DC JazzFest this year. What does this honor mean to you, and this opportunity to share a stage with some of today's greatest jazz artists?
Well, I was shocked, to say the least. I mean, to receive the honor, and I just feel grateful, to be able to share the stage with people I really love. With my mother, I think it's so important for me, because I think she's so amazing, and I think everybody, a part of that festival, and all the other contestants, all the winners of the ASCAP award, I really admire and respect. So I feel grateful and honored, honestly. So I'm excited to play. I can't wait. So we're really looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Jahari, for coming and sharing a little bit of your story with us, and hopefully we'll continue to be a part of your story. We're so appreciative that you're part of our family. You have a family band, and we're right there with you. So.
Oh, man. Well, thank you for having me. It's been an honor.